So there is sudden spirituality and neo-nationalism kind of a flavor that I can see that Gen Z is getting.
I've seen a lot of people that aren't very respectful of the nation.
You're okay to have conversation about LGBTQ and all of it. So what do you think of these situations?
So I really like the comedy, but in India, I mean, it's a little harder. It's a more cultural shock for India.
Especially from a Christ background. It's not cool. What will people think of me working in a pizza shop? Do you guys have that mindset?
No, there's no mindset like that generation-wise.
I don't know. I mean, our sincere efforts. See, Timbuktu is a part-time job portal, so we don't look at the collars of the job. It can be grey, blue, white, yellow, whatever color. Until unless it's legal and student gets to earn meaningfully. Where are you spending most of the money?
It's majority because of petrol.
What else is happening among Gen Zs?
I don't know. I guess social media is a big influence for that. Majority of us want to be social media influencers. And I feel like quality content at this point has become so important to people.
Do you think it is getting produced? Hello and welcome to India's only student podcast, No Filter Please, presented by Timbuktu. In today's episode, we have our own Gen Z who works with us in the office today, gracing the show and sharing her heart out here on No Filter Please to help us understand how is her life looking like when she is a student. So in today's episode, we have Akanksha Patwari. Welcome to the show, Akanksha.
Thank you.
What was your first reaction when we told we will record a podcast with you?
I was actually pretty excited. I like podcasts. I wanted to be on one always. So
really?
Nice. Yeah. In fact, I wanted to host one once.
Nice. So let's reverse. You host now. I answer.
No. It's okay.
I mean, I'm okay until unless we are having a meaningful conversation. So you said you always wanted to be on podcast, right? What did you imagine talking about?
It depends really on the topic of the podcast, but anything. I mean, I'm fine. I love talking. So
You love talking, so
yeah.
just podcast pe bula do. I'll do the rest.
Entertainment. Yes.
Nice, good. So where are you from, Akanksha? I know you study in Christ. You work with us as a part-timer now. You are managing a bit of our marketing for us at Timbuktu. You're also studying. I mean, I'm sure after your part-time duration gets off, you will get back to college. So who you are, introduce yourself to the audience and then we continue with the chit chat.
So I'm Akanksha Patwari and I love riding bikes. It's one of my favorite pastime. In fact, I have a Royal Enfield.
What? We have a biker chick? I didn't know. Why was this not put in your CV?
It's there, I think.
I missed it then.
Yeah, probably. And I like driving also, cars, bikes, anything. And I love gaming. And sports, but I don't play it as much anymore. No time.
Okay.
And of course, I want to pursue marketing, so that's one of my passions also right now. And since I'm a very creative person, I'd like to say marketing really suits my personality.
Okay.
So that's basically it.
Okay, we want to know who you are from your family background.
Okay.
Are you the only child?
Yes, I'm the only child.
Wow, nice. So all the Jaidad is coming.
Surprising.
No one to share with.
Nothing. No one.
But do you regret being a?
No, I like it.
Yeah. Why do you like it?
I mean, I get all the attention, and I also don't get all the attention. Like it's perfect. It's like ek ko chhod ke, like they're not giving attention only to me because I did something wrong with that person. It's like perfect. I get attention when I need it, or I don't. It's perfect.
Nice.
And I
Who's
don't
your
have to
best
share
friend,
my
mom or dad?
Mom.
Why?
She's around more because dad has a traveling job, so he's always traveling. So with him also it's fun. It's just that it's on weekends usually from the beginning. And mom, it's like she's there every day, so it's like.
When you said that you're a Kannadiga, I mean you speak Kannada. For me, a Kannada speaking student from Christ is like wow.
Usually all Mallus, na?
Yeah, one Malus and then usually most of them
Tamilians.
And I mean it's a very mixed culture out there. But very few speak Kannada, so we're like wow, Christ and Kannada goes nice.
I lived in Bangalore my entire life, so surprised if I didn't know.
Yeah. I mean great man. I mean I have seen few students who are born and brought up here, they still say Nange Kannada Gottilla. So I feel like, dude.
How do you survive?
Yeah. I mean, Bangalore mein you can survive
it's
without...
easy, but auto drivers and all that, it's a little harder, I guess.
Nice. So what was your schooling like? How was your early days?
Schooling was fun. I went to Sindhi school up to 3rd grade, so from nursery to 3rd. Before that was Euro Kids. for pre-nursery, and then it was DPS, and everyone knows what DPS is and how it is and stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like DPS was a lot of fun. Majority of
Okay.
memories are from there.
Mhm.
Then I went to presidency 11th and 12th, took up commerce because science not my cup of tea, honestly.
Okay.
I-
Why again?
I see, even though I like science, it academically I was never good at it. So I was like, if I take it, my grades are going to dip. I'm not going to be able
Okay.
to do it. And I never had the interest to look at
So
it.
never
academically.
parents forced you to be a doctor and
No,
an engineer?
nothing. My parents were like, take whatever you want. I mean, they didn't want me to take arts, but they were like, anything other than that, we're okay with it. I'm like, okay.
Nice.
So pretty supportive, so that's good.
So you currently are doing BCom
BCom in Christ.
Christ University, which is that Kormangla campus.
The Hosur Road camp. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Why I want to know a little bit about your background, because see, one is the effort here today is to understand students' life in Bangalore, right? So that's the bottom line of the show. Usually you call celebrities or somebody who's an influencer, somebody who has already achieved something, achievers per se. So they have something concrete to talk. They have certain topic, right? If somebody is good at medicine, they usually end up discussing medicine a lot. But when we speak to a student, what Timbuktu wants to understand from a student today is, what are your needs and wants? Where are you spending time? How can we help or add value to your community? So we come from that very lens. So how is it being a student today?
Being a student today, I guess controversial, not sure. I mean, it's fun. of course.
Controversial.
But like controversial because it's like weird. I mean, there are a lot of things, culture differences and all of that. And I look at my juniors and I'm like, you guys are like that? And it's just it's so different. I mean, within just 1 year, you see so much difference with stuff like they're all partying and stuff. And I'm just like career, serious and life. And everyone else is like partying. And I'm like, how are you guys doing that? And stuff like that. But it depends. I mean, really, I also have a lot of fun. I've also done like fair share of parties and stuff. Not a much of a crowd person. More of a like just with my friends, my circle. I like it. But yeah, I mean, I've had my fair share of going outside and stuff. So it's nice. College life is good. And it's much more freeing than it was in school and stuff. So it's like I have much more freedom and more trust. So it's nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, parents are complaining about this generation at home. Teachers. So I was in my alumna Mount Carmel few months before, and I was talking to my lecturer who still is teaching there, and I was asking her, how is this, because it's already almost like a decade now that I passed out, and I was asking her, how's this generation, because we were her first batch when she started teaching and things like that. So I was asking her, how different are these kids? She was like, you guys still gave us an opportunity to talk. You guys were listening to whatever we said. But this generation, I mean, there was a time, it seems, when they confiscated phone or something. So this girl has apparently took the SIM card and she hid that in the hair.
Oh my God.
And she got, so, I mean, how can you think of somebody keeping,
in the
hair? So they're like, they are their nutcase. I mean, we love teaching you guys, but this generation, they're different. So that's why I want to know what it is to be a student.
I mean, it's like, it's yeah, as you said, it's something like that itself. It's the same thing. I mean, I don't know how teachers handle us, to be honest, but it's fun. I mean, we all have it. I guess we're more free to express our opinions.
Okay, so has there been any change between student and teacher relationship currently?
Yes, it's more friendly, I guess. It's more like they're a friend and they are our elder. You know, like ideally Indian tradition was like elder, they're an elder, so you treat them with respect and stuff. Now it's nothing like that. I mean, teachers usually try to be a friend and try to come on to your level to be able to understand you. So that's really
I've asked this question to everybody who's graced this show. You guys already have friends.
Yeah.
Why do you want friends? I mean, within your parents, or why do you want your teachers to be friends? There are friends already. Cannot teacher be remaining as a teacher? Like, where is this all like? I don't see a line any longer. That is all getting diminished, or everything is grey. There's no black and white any longer.
That is true. But no, it's not like exactly friend. It's more like friendly in the sense of like they're not always just scolding you. The typical teacher type.
Okay.
They try to understand you, which makes it much easier because they're trying to understand you, and you actually have the space to tell them what the reason was behind whatever you did. So they try to converse instead of just scolding and letting it go. So it's more like, in my point of view, it's more of like understanding each other. It's exactly like being friends, because obviously that line is there where they're
Yeah.
a teacher and you're a student, so you have that respect, according to me at least.
Mhm.
But and I have a lot of respect for all my teachers, but it's like it's nice to just chit chat with them sometimes, and they ask you how
They're
your
more
day goes.
approachable.
Yeah, they're
maybe.
more approachable. That's what
Okay.
I would say. Yeah.
Okay, great. See, you are an out and out Bangalore girl, right?
Yeah.
Born here, brought up here,
Yeah.
Kannada, you're the Topori bike ride chick.
Yes.
And, and you're also studying in Christ, you've been
Mhm.
part of presidency. So you've seen most of it as a
Yes.
Bangalore, this generation
Yes.
kid. Have you heard at home your parents saying, in our generation, in our times, Bangalore
Oh,
was
so many
this,
times. So many times.
it has changed so much.
So many times.
I mean, when I'm sure you have a friends from outstations
Yeah,
and
yeah,
things
I
like
do.
that. How much of this city reflects in you as a character? Like, do you carry Bangalore in your character attitude as a flavor?
A lot. I mean, as far as I've spoken to people that are outside of Bangalore, they're like, they look at me and they're like, are you from Bangalore? I'm like, yes. And I'm like, how do you know? You just you seem like that. I'm like, okay. And I think part of Bangalore will always be with me wherever I go. It's my most favorite city, only place I've been. And of course, parents always tell me it was all green before, which I've also noticed. In fact, it
Yeah.
has changed a lot from even my childhood. So, but I'm pretty sure it was much better a city before, greenery-wise, environment-wise. But I love what it is now also. I mean, I like the people here. They're much more progressive.
Yeah.
So, for example, the people have this misconception: the more south you go, the more orthodox it gets. And no, Bangalore is very progressive. Surprisingly, everyone is so progressive and everyone is so inclusive over here.
Yeah,
So it's very nice.
welcoming.
Welcoming, exactly. So it's like Atiti Devo Bhava is actually true over here.
Yeah, we practice.
Yeah, we practice it. So
I am not a Bangalorean. I've been residing here for the last 12, 13 years. I'm a Kannadiga, I'm a Karnataka. I mean, I've come from a different part of Karnataka
Acha, okay.
called Hassan. So when I've seen one thing about this city, right? When you come with right intentions. See, for example, in comparison, they speak about Mumbai like this. Mumbai will either accept you or reject you. There is
Yes.
only R or part there,
Yes.
right? But
Yes.
in Bangalore, you come with 10 rupee or you come with 10,000 rupees.
Doesn't matter.
Bangalore will accept you.
Exactly.
It will make sure you feel home,
That is perfect.
right? See, weather and all. I mean, for Northeast, yeah, weather is a perks.
Big,
But
yeah.
for us, it's
like,
part
doesn't
of
matter,
it,
it's
right?
fine, yeah.
But even for a person like me, for coming from tier 2 and all that, when I came here for education and things, so that one thing is there. When you come to Bangalore, somehow it becomes a home.
It does.
You can't
yes.
go back.
You can't.
I've seen this with multiple people.
Right.
What is so up with this city?
I have no idea. It's like magic.
Yeah, it is welcoming. So if at all somebody, because you're an out and out Bangalore girl, what are the top 5 recommendation you suggest to visit in Bangalore?
Mine would be all food places. Rameshwaram Cafe. And there's this one place that gives dosa at like 3 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
So it's near Kittu Rani Chelama Fiber, right below that. So that
Okay.
place is nice if you want to have like late night snacks. Then the airport, because that's like a long drive for anybody, anytime, any part of the city.
It's a tourist destination.
Yeah, it's like look at the
Hangout
Terminal
spot.
2. Yeah, hangout
Yeah.
spot. Terminal 2 or Terminal 1, coffee at night, maybe it's nice. And where else? That's 3 places, so 2 more. One would be Phoenix Mall, I guess, just because it's nice. It's a nice mall. It's pretty
Okay.
big. A lot of programs there. And last one. That's a tough one. That's any place, honestly. Every place in Bangalore is really
I
nice.
thought you will say Church Street, you will say Kabban
Nah,
Park.
nah.
No?
Kavan Park, I've been only once, surprisingly.
No!
Yeah.
I'll dismiss you calling now Bangalore person. How can
Church
you?
Street, I've been many times. Church Street, yeah, I would say Church Street. I forgot about that. Or Bell Road, that's another one. Bell
Yeah.
Road is the North Bangalore ka Church Street. So,
Mhm.
yeah. Bell Road.
But
or
how
Church
can you
Street.
just visit Kabban? Have you been to Lal Bagh?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Albag many times.
Wow.
Closer by now.
But yeah, Kabban Park is like this. People compare with the Central Park of New York.
Yeah.
That's
But
what.
It's dubbed
I also
lovers
thought you
spot
will
or
say UB City, so you didn't say anything that is touristry. You got into like,
something. I am not a tourist person. I mean,
just to suggest also as a city. Yeah.
the Bangalore. I mean, honestly, to be honest, I've not even visited majority of tourist spots in Bangalore,
Mhm.
so I wouldn't even say that. But yeah, Kabban Park, Church Street, Bell Road.
Yeah,
The
that's
problem is, it's not exactly like heritage tourism. It's more
Yeah.
just like cool things.
Commercial.
Yeah, commercial.
so. That's what I want to know from your perspective, from the generation you come from. what do you see Bangalore as? So of course you associate Bangalore with food, or
Yeah, food.
that's your personality. Nice. So why did you think? I mean, I know you talk good and all of it, but BCom and marketing. I mean, is there any such course now that you can do marketing specialization in BCom?
There is actually marketing is part of BCom.
Really?
Yeah, it is.
I always thought BCom is all about accounts and finance.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. It's not actually. Majority of it, I mean, yes, of course, the core of it is accounting, finance and accounting. But you have a lot of marketing and HR in it too. Yeah, I mean,
Like,
one
what
of our
subjects
electives
do you
is
have?
that. We had principles of marketing as one of our
Nice.
subjects. We had a business as one of our subjects. We had financial services, stuff like that. So it's like accounting was always just one subject in the entire batch of subjects, but the rest of them were always something different.
Nice.
And that was nice.
Why did you choose Christ? Honest answer.
Honest answer is just my parents told me it's the best one, get into it. I just did.
So parents' choice.
Yeah,
basically.
I didn't even know much about it when I got in. Like at the time I realized to get to know about it was after college started.
Okay.
Was when I entered the campus and I was like, acha, nice.
Good. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a quite pretty big campus.
It's a big campus, a decently big campus.
Yeah. So how's life inside Christ for you?
Life inside Christ is hectic, let me say that. It's like
You're the
everyone's-
second person on the sofa to say so. Yeah.
Seventh, like my classes are from 7:30 to 1 because I'm the morning batch. So it's like I'm driving like fast, riding fast, going there, parking and running up to my class. Because
Oh,
it's
you
like,
go in your book?
yeah, I got my bike.
Oh,
Because like car parking is paid over there. So
No,
I
I
go
mean
there.
not the
And bike is
scooty
much
one,
more
but the
convenient.
bike,
Yeah,
the
I got
actual
the bike,
Enfield.
yeah. I don't have a scooty.
Ah,
So
Wow.
I just ride the bike to college. I park it downstairs and just run up like as fast as I can because I'm usually at like 7:25 and I'm there, and 7:30 attendance starts. So I'm like, nope, gotta make it.
nice.
But that's like everyone 7:30 or 9 o'clock. Everyone's rushing to just get to class because they're very strict about time there. That's the thing.
How is that helping you as an individual?
To be honest, I mean, cricket actually helped me become very disciplined according to time.
Sports.
Yeah,
Okay.
sports really helped me.
Oh my God, you should have just stayed.
I know. It was
Now
so
that the
nice.
IPL, RCB,
In
women
fact-
for the rescue.
Exactly. In
men
fact,
doing
I
shitty
think
jobs.
I almost got selected for the Karnataka state team. If I had stayed
Oh.
another year, I would have. I went up to like the second round and then I couldn't go past. I guess I
Just
didn't get
miss.
selected. Yeah, I just missed kind of. So my coach had told me, he's like, next time you're definitely making it. Just prepare. And I'm like, oops, 10th board came along and my
Okay.
marks weren't good. So they were like, get off. And then once you get off, it's just like then 11th and 12th and
You're chasing.
yeah, chasing something or the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
after
yeah.
10. And have
But
a-
yeah,
that's what taught me discipline,
nice.
time wise.
Sports especially.
enhanced it. Yeah.
Sports also teaches you, a lot about failure, how to deal with things.
Yes, that's a lot. And plus, it's like my coach in cricket, he used to be like, you can come early, but never come late. So if we used to be even a minute later than practice time, they used to not let us practice. They used to just let us go. They used to tell
Nice.
us to go back.
But what made you choose cricket?
I was always a big fan. It was from childhood when I used to go to Hyderabad
Aye.
to my native and stuff. We used to just play cricket on the road all the time, literally gully cricket.
Nice.
And since that road was small, so not many cars used to come at the time. So we used to play there, and then anytime, like my cousin brothers used to play cricket, so I used to play with them. I used to watch cricket. So a lot of influence of cricket from the beginning.
Nice.
And then I was like, I really like the sport. I really want to do something in it. And my dad was always a person that would say, you choose one sport and I'll let you pursue it.
Nice.
So I was like, okay. So I was like, cricket. And he's like, okay. So he bought me the kit and he was like, I'll put you in the best
Nice.
coaching. And so I would go there and it was really nice. At that time, it was the only girl coaching center at
Okay.
that time. But now there are.
Where's this?
Shivaji Nagar.
Yeah.
It's called Karnataka Institute of
Yeah.
Cricket. Yeah.
My brother did his 1-year course there. One long year, 6 to 6. 1 and 6 to 8. KIOC, right?
Yeah,
Karnataka Institute of
KIOC,
Cricket,
yeah. I was also there for I think 1.5 years or so. Then I left.
Nice.
So it's really nice. Weekends I used to go, so it's nice.
What was reaction within the family among cousins and all when you said you're doing professional course?
Surprisingly, my family is very progressive, both sides. So they were
Nice.
like really happy. They were cheering me up. They're like, you should go, you should probably go every day. And my parents were trying to see if they could pull strings here and there where I could go every day. Never happened because I used to have school until 4.
Okay.
And that was their last batch. 4 to 6 was their last
Yeah,
batch
yeah,
at
yeah.
the time. So I was like, not possible. So, yeah.
So when you saw RCB, WPL and
Lift the cup.
women lift the cup, how was your reaction?
I was so proud. I was like, what guys, I mean, men are not able to do for what, 6 years now?
16 years.
16 years, sorry.
Yeah.
The women have done it. But I'm pretty sure the men also will do it. It's just their management
this
is bad,
season.
I guess. Not this season, but they'll do it.
We have hardcore fans in this office who are like, and we have a mixed culture, right? We have some from Kolkata and all of it. So there is always that tushan goes on in the office anyway. You will see yourself. But yeah, it was, I mean, who knows? You would have also played for
Maybe.
WPL if it's
one reality in the universe.
Yeah.
Maybe I would have.
But it's okay. I'm sure you will make your parents and nation proud in multiple
In
other
other
ways.
ways, yeah.
So what? See, I want to understand a little deeper. So see, of course, Christ gives you a lot of exposure, right?
Yep.
It will bring the best of best faculties, best of best resource people. There are multiple fairs, a lot of things going on in that campus, and I'm sure you had an opportunity to explore, and then you thought you're good at marketing,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that's how each one of
do,
us
yes.
figure out. But now that you choose to be a marketeer, do you know what it takes? There's a whole lot of AI thing going on. There's a whole ChatGPT thing. So how are you seeing this trend picking up? And what is the conversation going among your friends or peers about the whole AI intervention in marketing?
AI, and I mean, usually, normally conversations are AI, everyone likes it. They're a very AI plus kind of a thing because it makes life much more convenient to do things. I mean, obviously, you still need human intervention to do a lot in marketing because it requires creativity.
What are those? I mean, ChatGPT also gives you creative writing. And
Yeah, but it's like I've seen and I've explored ChatGPT's creative writing. It's just not. It's like usually as a person you have this set idea in mind of how you want this campaign to be or how this poster to be, and it's like I prefer trying to use what I thought about because I feel like that's a better idea than what AI could come up with. Maybe AI can come up with good titles or good writing inside the campaign, but I'd say the entire poster.
So you don't feel threat by AI?
No, I don't, not at all.
But there's a whole conversation going that AI will eat marketing jobs. So
I would say I don't think it can eat it completely because marketing still requires a lot of creativity that only comes from human perspective, in my opinion at least. But I'm pretty sure it can reduce all the people that don't do a very important part, don't take a very important stance in marketing or place in marketing. That it could reduce the strength, manpower, but not entirely eliminate it in my opinion.
yeah, I feel curiosity is something that
Something.
AI can never.
Yep.
Curiosity on questioning.
Yep.
Human mind questions every damn thing out there, right? I mean, the whole nature of our existence is when we were hunting and eating in our primitive stage, we questioned, why can't I eat fruit?
Exactly.
From there, why can't I cut the tree? Why can't I build the house? So it's always that question and the curiosity that led into human progression. I think that AI. I was recently in one of the college events as a panel speaker, and the whole conversation was about tech there.
Oh, okay.
How tech is impacting HR, how tech will impact marketing. Of course, it will definitely. So the future of work, none of us know, right?
That is true.
See, what was happening few years back, there was still consultants. There was still, very, very traditionally everything was happening. Now the tech has made things easy for us. I don't have to call up a consultant and say, I want head of marketing, do the headhunting and get me profiles.
exactly.
We don't any longer do that.
look
We
it up
just
on
go to
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn and then, see the profile. So the operation side of it can be pretty much managed by AI and tech and a lot of other things. But the relationship, the feeling, the emotion, the curiosity. So the very basic of human nature, AI cannot. So I always say AI will only eat those jobs which, like you said, lazy man's job.
Yeah,
or I feel the whole unemployment discussion stops at that point when candidates are AI ready. It's no longer just an industry ready candidate. Is the candidate AI ready for the market, right?
That is true.
Is your campus bringing any AI courses? What is it inside the college today?
So right now there's a lot of AI courses. In fact, there was this. So I'm not sure if you've heard of Bloomberg.
Yeah.
So we have this Bloomberg lab. So they had conducted like an entire AI and market integration course for I think 5,000 rupees or something. I missed the deadline by a day because we got the message late. But it is basically like they would teach you about the markets and how to look up on their data platform, which is Bloomberg. So we have a Bloomberg lab. And so we had been taken there. We had explained everything, and there are a lot of AI courses that come along. But the problem is, I think majority of our generation also, you can see so many people that are not tech savvy and that do not know anything about laptops probably. And it's surprising. Yeah, in my class itself, I have so many people. No offense to them.
Really?
Yeah, actually.
What the hell? I mean, listen, you guys are born with internet as a basic ability today.
I know, and I guess like some parents didn't probably allow them to, have a laptop or have a phone.
Yeah, maybe
technology se dur raho types. Probably, but I think even this generation you can find so many that are not, and it actually surprises me as much as it did for you. But college is pretty good. I mean, they try to integrate wherever they can. This course is BCom is more like traditional, of course. Not much computers involved in it, so we don't really get exposed to it a lot. But there are additional courses that keep coming all the time. We have our elective subjects, and all of that we had like a coding one also.
Correct.
Somewhere, so it's perfect. I think the new curriculum now requires people to know
NEP
coding
and
or
all
something.
of
Yeah,
that.
I'm not sure, but we had it for some time, so it's pretty nice. I would say, like you said, AI cannot replace humans. I feel like in any marketing campaign, I feel like it only works out when someone has put that emotion in it. Because like if you see any marketing campaign in even in India has such personal touches to it with the Indian culture, which is why people actually buy things.
You know, I was recently I was recently in Delhi, and I took I think it was in Indigo Airlines. Yeah. So there is this instruction manual kept, right?
Yeah.
So the emoticons that are used, like a human character that are used, has this Rajasthani, like, turban with tika, moustache.
Yeah.
So this is marketing.
Exactly.
So though it was early morning flight, I was too sleepy. But the moment I saw that,
it got you happy.
Yeah. Now I feel Indigo doesn't have to do any, more campaigns.
Exactly.
But I know there is Indianization of this, or there's certain element of my nation emotion attached to it, right? For me, that is marketing. You marketed Indigo to me by not speaking more about it, but by just placing things in a right way. I don't think so. This is AI.
AI cannot do that.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right? And I think they also have a hashtag that fly India with us or something. But but I don't see, for me, I don't remember the hashtag. But I remember the
mascot.
Yeah, mascot.
Exactly.
That's marketing for me.
Yeah, that is, yes.
And I also, as a person, love marketing. For me, I always feel there has to be a larger portion of EQ to it, emotional quotient.
Yes, a lot.
And a right mix of intelligent quotient.
Yes.
So you can't make it fully emotional like a melodrama thing.
No one like that.
But mostly, I mean, even the campaigns. I don't know whether you know about the Surf Excel ad that when I was school-going kid, I used to see.
Oh, okay.
So there is this brother and girl walking towards the school, and there is a whole mud slog kind of a thing due to rain.
And he removes his shirt and puts it
No. The sister falls into it, and she starts crying.
Oh no.
So to pacify the sister, brother starts fighting with that. Sorry bolo, usko sorry bolo. And then he's like fully dirt and things like that. He has mud all over, and then he turns towards his sister and says, "Sorry, Ante." The mud is saying sorry to you because he fought.
Exactly.
Listen, that's like the best.
Exactly.
Surf Excel ad. I mean, that's the emotion. That Surf Excel could impart. I mean, what are they selling? They're selling soap powder.
Yes.
There is nothing beyond that in that.
Exactly.
But because of that emotion that has been so beautifully narrated in that 20 seconds, I can still remember it after 20 years.
Exactly. And that's what is the core of marketing. It is like you need to be able to give that connection to a human to be able to go for the product. And AI can never do that. No matter how much AI knows about India, I'm pretty sure it can't get that small anecdotes that we learn
the flavor of the land.
Exactly.
The emotion of the land.
Never. I mean, Air India's mascot is the same mustache and turban, and they call it Maharaja.
Yeah.
And that's what I remember. And even if you see like Burger King, they came here and they had to completely change all their products to be all Indianized, and that is marketing again. They call it Maharaja. So not Burger King. What's that?
Maharaja
McDonald's.
Tikki.
Yeah, Maharaja Mac. And the aloo tikki, McAloo tikki, and all of that. They had to Indianize.
Yeah. Kellogg's is coming with upma and all of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like marketing needs to have emotions in it, and that's the main thing. One of the main things, of course, intelligence is another one, but it needs human intervention basically.
Nice. So, I mean, I wanted to know it from, are you as a generation, are you guys feeling threatened about with AI taking up every other role and responsibilities? Yeah, like you said, there is no replacement for human emotions and things like that. How much because you have written in your bio that you're a tech savvy person. How much are you aware of the trends that are coming? I mean, are you a social media enthused, or are you part of it already, like fully?
No, I mean I'm not part of it. I'm like a silent spectator on the side. I'm not
You're a consumer.
Yeah, I'm a consumer. I just look around and make sure I'm up with the trends, but I'm not a part of them.
Okay.
Like I am on social media, of course, everyone is, but majority of us are. But I'm not very I'm not like a public influencer or anything like that. I don't want to be one. But
why so?
It's just not my personality, and
Okay.
not the kind of person that would like to be one. I would say more of a person that's more I guess introverted in that sense of things. I don't want everyone to know what's happening, but also at the same time, like if you meet me and if you talk, I prefer quality time and quality conversation with a person over just having a upper ka, dikhane ka, like the entire. I think the entire trend of influencers is just show off at this point. So I'm like not that kind of a person. I couldn't do that.
Yeah, but do you get into FOMO aspect when you consume a lot on social media? Do you feel that there is something very nice happening? People are traveling, people are vloggers, people are famous. There's no FOMO angle?
No, not at all. Not for me at least. Personally, no. I'm pretty sure a lot of people in our generation do have it. But
have you come across any such cases where people have got into FOMO and stopped eating, trying to lose weight?
Jeez. No. Actually, no. None of my friends have been like that, surprisingly.
Okay.
Or anyone that I've seen also. I mean, a lot of people have their personal life, of course, but I do have like, I have seen one person that has done that. I mean, not exactly stopped eating and stuff. It's like he just started changing his entire, he made it himself more Western, but now that he's happier that way, so I'm okay with it.
Okay, so I'm going a little out of the very context of currently what we're discussing. So there is sudden spirituality and neo-nationalism kind of a flavor that I can see that Gen Z is getting towards. So do you see that pattern as well?
Or do you mean like the whole zodiac signs and I believe in it kind of thing?
Yeah, one is that. Another one is people have started believing in India suddenly. Do you see that nationalism picking up among your generation?
In fact, I have. I mean, to be honest, when I've seen a lot of people that aren't very respectful of the nation, but I've also seen the opposite, and it's actually much more common. The opposite is much more common now. I mean, a lot of people understand, as you said, understand India better, try to learn about it. In fact, if you see many YouTube videos, they're like foreigners coming to India that have come and settled here because of the culture and all of that. And I'm glad it's either that India is expressing its culture more and people are getting attracted to it. So that's a good thing. But
I'll tell you why I asked that question. I want a representative answer, representative of your generation, in large, not only between you and your friends kind of a thing. See if there is an answer to this. See, for example, when I was studying or when I was in your age, right? For us, the dream of America was sold so strong. The dream of getting a job outside this country was sold so strong.
Yes.
We didn't, I mean, most of my people, or at least the generation,
didn't even look at it.
We were always in denial that India is a country where you can progress, or, we didn't believe in the story of India, basically.
That is.
If you see, most of my batchmates are settled abroad. They all flew. So, but today, because there is so much spoken about India and, thanks to the political stability or whatever it is, right? I see a lot of youngsters coming in support of the country. They think that this this decade belongs to them. So is it true that
it is
you guys are giving up on, I mean, it's not just that's the wrong word. You guys are trying to give India a chance. Is it true?
Yes, because honestly, it's like looking at, as a generation, looking at America and all of that, we see the kind of again, this would be a little political, but see the kind of stuff that's happening in America and other countries where it's like genuinely we don't feel like that is some place that we should go. We feel like, we've been born and brought up in India, and India also has its ample amount of opportunities now. you know, you have IIMs, IITs, and you have your other colleges that are actually very good.
Yeah.
And job opportunities also are not that less over here. And education is on its top right now with all the changes and everything. So it's like, I feel like everyone wants to stay in India because they've seen that the culture and everything here is so nice and they're used to it, I guess. Some people would argue saying, you know, going outside would be stepping outside the comfort zone. But I would just say that as a generation, I feel like majority of us are looking at staying in India. I mean, I don't
Nice.
think the foreign influence is that much anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm asking.
It's like my childhood, it was. My childhood too, it was. It's like, you know, America. And then everyone would be like, man, US jaake, I'll become a pilot or something.
Yeah.
But like as you grow up and you really understand the market and everything and the careers and all that, I honestly feel like people want to stay in India and do their jobs. I mean, CA, CS, and all of that. It's
Yeah,
doing so
and with
well.
the startup ecosystem booming, and
Exactly.
there is a lot of entrepreneurship. It's been made fancy, and there and
Small businesses.
yeah, small
Exactly.
businesses. Tier 2 talents are coming out,
Exactly.
and opportunities in Tier 2 cities are also equally being given.
Yes.
Like we have a lot of tech companies coming out of Jaipur.
Yes.
That was like pretty. See, as a landscape,
Mhm.
if a Jaipur kind of a city is
Coming up with
coming up with
tech.
tech kind of companies
That
and
is
startups,
crazy.
then there is something really right going with this country,
Exactly.
right?
And
I feel this generation should decide to stay back in India,
Yes.
man, because listen, one, talent drain and all of it in the macroeconomics thing, but you can't let this become a retirer's paradise, and then you
Exactly.
go looking for something else. And but
Exactly.
yeah, I mean,
like another Italy, I guess.
yeah.
You don't want it to become another Italy.
Yeah, so just stay back, and I'm sure there's a lot to be done, and
Yeah.
with always a developing economy, there's
Yes.
a lot more to do, lot more to contribute to.
Exactly.
Lot
And
more
it keeps
opportunities.
getting better. So you know that in the future you have much more opportunities than an already developed country. Majority of them, I mean, I don't even know. I cannot imagine going to US and studying for UK. I want to
I
stay
was just coming to that. So what plans of to become?
MPA and marketing.
And you will look for universities here?
Yeah,
Okay.
here only. Probably IIMs, if not Xavier's, if not maybe lower. But aim is high, so of course I'll try to.
Yeah, you should. Why shoot stars when you can go? At least try. Okay, I think I told it. Why
Ulta.
shoot moon when you can land in stars? Yeah,
Exactly.
so correct. So okay, so this is about academics. This is about you and all of other things, right? What else is happening among Gen Zs?
Gen Z's, I don't know. I guess social media is a big influence for that. Majority of us want to be. I mean, that's excluding me, but a lot of people that I've seen want to be social media influencers, and that job market is actually pretty good if you look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a gamer and you start streaming or something, you can make a good living out of it. Nowadays, YouTubers and
Correct.
people are much higher in rank than even actors, like Bollywood actors.
Yeah.
And I feel like quality content at this point has become so important to people.
Do you think it is getting produced?
In the sense?
The quality content?
Yes. In India, yes. If you're speaking of India. Or even in general. I mean, imagine, Bollywood used to be the entire fame and name.
Correct.
But now everyone's looking at Tamil movies and Kannada movies. They look at it with subtitles,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
course,
yeah.
but it's like they want the quality story. Like, for example, Bahubali became so popular. And
Kantara became so.
exactly.
Yeah,
And
the story of a very small portion of Karnataka, as a
Karnataka.
Tulunadu, they
Yes.
call it, the coastal Karnataka.
yes, Bangalore and
Yeah.
Tulu. I mean, it was crazy. I mean, it's showing a different culture of an entire like small area of Karnataka.
So
but
the
everyone
acceptance
loved
of the content is
Yes.
increasing.
a lot more. In my
Just not a face, just not the star
Yes.
cast that matters,
Yes.
but the content do
Yes.
drive the audience today.
I mean, a lot of people that have like I would say documentaries on like National Geographic documentaries and stuff. I'd prefer watching YouTube for them. Majority of them, YouTube is so good. So I feel like a lot of them are planning to become YouTubers, already trying to do it as a side business or a side hustle, and then they'll maybe if it becomes something big, they can shift over completely.
Yeah.
That's one good thing going. I guess we have more creative options to look at.
Correct.
And-
Than traditional jobs of same
Exactly.
engineering.
9 to 5 jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like no one looks at engineering, doctor, and all that attractively anymore.
Yeah, any longer.
Any longer. I mean, acting and YouTube and all of that. It just really, your pastimes or your passions become sort of like a job that you can actually do is something really nice, I think.
But
about
how
this
are
generation.
parents reacting to this when they go
Oh,
back
they don't
home?
like it.
I want to be a YouTuber.
No, they do not like it.
Okay.
But I guess it's something that children still try. I mean, my generation at least is like, I'll do a job just for my parents' satisfaction and my financial stability. But I will do this YouTube thing or something on the side. And if it blows up, then I'll just leave my job and focus on this. So it's like they have it as their
backup plan.
backup plan or passion, sort of. It's like a side hustle. Like.
So when you took up biking, so what made you, choose that? Like, how did bike attract you?
Oh, so it was my dad had this Royal Enfield Classic 500, right? And he just kept it, and he would not use it for like. He used to use it. He bought it with a lot of like shauk, like mujhe khareedna, I want to buy it, I want to ride it, I want to go far and all that. But he got so busy, he would never ride it. So it just laid in our basement for like years on end, not being used. So then when I came around 16 or 17, Dad said, I'm going to give this bike to you. But only on one condition, that I would repair it, is that I'll give it to you. I'm like, okay, no problem. I never had an issue. So I always knew I wanted to drive it from a long time, from the childhood. So Dad was like, fine, I'll teach you. So it took me 5 minutes, I think, in the basement. He was like, just sit, I'll just teach you. This is the gear and just drive. I'm like, okay. And I just sat on it, picked it up, and it's a heavy bike. And I just picked it up, and he's like, okay, you got the weight balance. Now just do this. And I did it in like, I think 5 or 10 minutes, I learned how to ride.
I'm somebody who can even ride bicycle. I can't make that U-turn in the bicycle. I'll still get down, take it. I am duffer when it comes to riding.
I used to ride a cycle before and then a scooty. And then my dad was like, if you can ride those two, bike is nothing. Don't worry.
Really?
So I learned it
so
in
now,
like 5 minutes.
Now heads do turn when you there's a bike.
Oh, a lot. It's so, I mean, there are 3 types of reactions. One is like, you're pretty cool. And the second one is like, it's just like blankly staring at me. I don't know if they're judging me or if they're like just amazed. I don't understand. They're just staring. And third one is just these like auto drivers that will come next to me and be like, just like stare me up and down, look at my bike. And I'm like, do you need something? They're like, how much mileage does it get? I'm like, dude, is that the one question you have? There's so many auto drivers that I've asked me. They just come sit next to me, look me up and down. And when I make eye contact with them, because I know they're looking, they're like, ಎಷ್ಟು ಕೊಡುತ್ತೆ madam? I'm like, dude. But there are cool reactions also. There was like this biker guy that crossed by, and he was like, and then he went. So it's like, it's a mixed reaction.
So are you part of any bikers club or something?
No, not yet. I want to be though. I mean, once I get another bike, this is a little more vintage and old, so it needs to be maintained a lot. Can't go very long distances with it. So once I do get a good bike, I'll probably try.
Nice. I, somehow couldn't gather courage. So me and my brother had one bicycle. Okay.
Okay.
So always that, I don't want to use the bad word. So he used to remove the supporting wheels so he gets to ride it for a longer time. So when I was trying to learn with, he used to keep that away or play around with it. Exactly. So I never got a chance to learn bicycle. Now I envy why a single kid gets to have a lot of fun because you get to have brothers, but on a fun side. I cannot. I mean, I have phobia for bike and all that. When I can't. I did attempt to learn, but no. I mean, even the scooty part. I've had a couple of my friends who tried teaching, and then they were like, "Bhai, chhod do. We will forget what we've learned." But I love car. I mean, I can race in the car, but two-wheeler is something that anybody, especially a girl, do that. I'm like, wow, how do you do that? Nice. Yeah. Your teachers are like, do you get an extra attention?
I do, surprisingly. I mean, I never told anyone. I never looked at it as a big deal at that time. So I just used to go to college in bike. One of my classmates saw me, I think. And apparently the guys in my class had this entire conversation about how she drives a bike. And I was like, okay, that's a little weird, but cool. That's really nice. And like, I think a lot of people told the teachers. I don't know who told. I never told them personally. But I think like a few of my teachers come up to me and they're like, you drive a bike, right? And I'm like, yes, sir, I do. And they're like, yeah, that's so cool. I'm like, how do you know?
Did you give a drop to guy friends? Lift to guy friends?
Yes, I have before, once or twice. But majority it's like I see someone while I'm riding to college and they're like walking and it's one of my classmates, I'd stop and like, I just take it faster, come on. And I just take them to the gate because they're getting late, I'm getting late. So like, I just help them out. That's usually what.
So I mean to say, in the gang, do you have any guy friends who?
A lot. I mean, my friend, he drives a bike. So we usually try to go wherever we can with a bike. So we went to Indranagar to this Rolls place by bike, and then we went to Ragi State Forest. It's, I think 30 kilometers from here. We went on bike, and we went to TK Falls by bike, and it's like it's nice. It's really nice. And he got a new bike recently, so he's like full excited. So anytime I find the time to ride, he just calls me on everyone, and we go somewhere.
So that's also an advantage with your generation, right? So there's no men women wala itna hai nahi funda jitna we were back then, and you know ladkiyon ka kaam hai, ladkon ke kaam hai, all of it. So also in the checklist that you've submit, I mean like in the exercise while we were doing to have this conversation, I also saw you're okay to have conversation about LGBTQ and all of it. So what do you think of these situations?
I mean, the community as a whole, I don't really mind. I mean, do whatever you want, love whoever you want. That's really good. I'm happy for you. So I really like the community. I mean, I really like to know about people's stories and, how they are in the community, part of it, how they are. And I really don't think that they should be discriminated as they are.
Of course, not.
But in India, I mean, it's a little harder. It's a more cultural shock for India, for majority of our parents' generation and stuff like that. But honestly, I feel like in my family, I have a person that's part of the community. And he's accepted by everyone. Everyone loves him. My entire family loves him. And he has this amazing fashion sense. Has amazing, outlook to life. And he's so confident about himself. And anytime he comes to any family function, he's like the life of the party.
Nice.
Kind of thing. So it's like perfect. I mean, I've always had a positive view of them from the beginning, family-wise and
that's so nice. Up and close, there is somebody in the family, and if family is so progressive to accept it, it just shows. What's your relationship with money like? Have you thought through it?
Yes. And in fact, actually, to be honest, I spend a lot.
Who gives you the most pocket money?
Dad. Okay. No, it's always dad. Mom's not working. Mom's a homemaker, so it's dad. But it's like he spoiled me. Not exactly. Mom was the one who used to be this strict person, and dad would be like, okay, you ask me anything, I'll give it to you. Because I used to meet him rarely, right? So it was really nice. But dad is usually the one who spoils me more. I mean, shopping and everything. But I'm not a very materialistic person. So I guess the only thing I've ever asked of him that's super expensive is probably my phone or like my laptop. Because those are two things I really, really love. So majority of my money, like I drain his money is not jewelry or clothes, it's like tech. It's like laptop or headphones or mouse. Like I asked a headphone for him, and he's like, you have like 4, right? I'm like, 1 more please. And he's like, okay.
But what do you think of money?
I think
now that you're protected, okay, right? Because you have certain needs and wants, and you will communicate it to your father. I'm sure he will evaluate to one extent, but like you said, there is always dads are towards their daughters. Their soft corner. Maybe they'll just ask you one question, but they will make sure they buy you, correct? But what's your personal, so when you think that you will now move out of your college, or one day you will start earning, right? So what is your relationship with money looking
like? I feel like it's something that is very important, but shouldn't be the sole goal. Personally, I mean, yes, money is very, very important. You really need it for everything that you want. But I feel like there should also be something else other than money that you're chasing. You should look at meaningful relationships also, not just chase behind money and forget everything else. That's probably what I look at it, a relationship with money. But yes, of course, I want to earn good enough where, the lifestyle that I'm used to now.
What's the dream goal currently you've set for yourself?
The dream goal for myself would be being financially independent in any way possible. I mean, career-wise, you'd say MBA and marketing and getting a stable job like 9 to 5, probably that'd be nice. And growing in ranks and reaching a particular point. But that's, again, it comes to financial independence. I just want financial independence, and I want to be able to be the sole person to decide where my money goes, and no one should be able to tell me what I should do.
Nice.
And financial independence plays a huge role in that. So,
correct. Yeah. You can decide what to do with your money.
Exactly. And what you want. And once that comes, no one's going to question you about what else you do in life either. So
correct. So just help me understand what is, you don't have to tell me the exact number. Just help me understand how much pocket money do you get, and where are you spending most of the money? Like, if I can get the split of your spend.
I get a lot actually, but it's majority because of petrol. So both for bike and car, I have to fill petrol because car is made for long distances. So anytime I need to go drop parents, a mom to the airport or to the other side of the city for any reason, that's when I use a car. And so it's actually pretty often used, and bike also. So petrol, usually majority of money goes in petrols. Then the leftover money, it goes on food.
So, I mean, this is where we're just trying to understand what's your spending. I was just recently hearing to this podcast, and one of these ladies, she's pretty popular. She was talking about, they are into financial instruments where you do all this mutual fund investment and various other investments and savings kind of a product they are building. So she was saying my immediate competitor is not the similar kind of a company who are also into financial services, but my immediate competitor today is Zomato and Swiggy.
Yes.
People don't think of, because there is such an ease of ordering everything at your fingertip, and just sit at home and order 10 items, it will
come up.
When you step down, move out, and when you order, you'll be like, yaar, chhod do, nahi khana hai. But in the comfort of your house, you don't know what you're ordering, how much you're ordering, right?
Exactly.
So they were just giving the data that this generation is zero in saving. Zero in investing. They are so high on investments. They're so high on spending.
Yes.
They're so high on doing a lot of other experimental, experiential things. So for them, the competitor is not another fintech, but the competitor is Zomato or Swiggy today.
That is true. I mean, majority of us probably spend a lot, but it's also like there's this. I think at this age, there's certain stigma that comes along that a lot of us think is like, we're old enough now, so we don't want to take our parents' money. We just feel bad at this point to ask them to pay for something that's super expensive. So we're always trying to I guess a lot of us, that's why try to find jobs on the side so that we can sustain ourselves, because it's it's a little hard to ask your parent to pay because you feel guilty at this point. So I guess there are still a lot of people that invest in stocks. I guess the majority of them don't invest in the safe securities. They like to play a little risky and go for stocks and marketing. But I personally, I mean, I would invest if I had the chance. I think I do.
So did you try working elsewhere before? Did you earn your first check, or it's still...
No, it's still...
Timbuktu is your first check. I'm so happy.
But I did try to teach Excel. So actually, technically not my first check, but I was... there's this one company that came along and they were like, do you want to teach Excel? And I was like, sure. So I tried it out one batch and they were like, from the next batch,
we will pay
you. And I was like, okay. And I apparently did my batch so well, I got a 515 star review for the batch. So it was perfect. So I was like, okay, I will.
This is where I get a little annoyed. They should have paid you.
Yeah, they should have. But it's fine. I mean, I understand them trying to know whether I'm good enough or not. So it was like a trial. And then they were like, yeah, you can start. And they started giving me batches also. I was just like, sorry, I just got busy now. So I maybe...
Okay, I'll now create a situation. Okay, this is my favorite. I'm glad that you've not watched episodes of what we've shot earlier. So imagine now you come from a pretty upper middle class family with the conversation that I get it. And you study in Christ, and you are aware of your needs and wants. You have marketing skills, you talk good, but tomorrow we will, in the lines of the conversation that we are having, that you want to have a side hustle. Not definitely in align with the curriculum. With us, though, you are doing something that is in align with your curriculum, right? But what if tomorrow, you would want to work in any of these burger chains or, in the pizza shops? Will you work as kitchen executive, or are you okay to take up odd jobs like that, or there is a stigma attached to it?
There's no stigma attached to kitchen jobs or anything. I just am not good at them, so I wouldn't go for them. But yeah, I mean, I don't mind odd jobs. I mean, something I guess.
So for example, there are multiple car brands and bike brands. So would you work with them as one of those person who is on ground staff doing the mechanical job, selling?
No. Not something I'm interested in. I mean, if I was, I know a lot of friends that love taking care of their own bike completely, mechanically and everything, and they're learning all the time. And they're like, I wish I was, a good.
I mean to say, are you guys okay? See, I'm asking. Yeah, so that's why I put that You're fairly coming from a well-settled
Yes.
background, and you study in like a college like
Yes.
Christ and things like that.
Yes.
But you're the same kid when you move abroad.
Yes.
You will end up working in coffee pizza
That is
shops
true.
there
Yes,
as
that
part
is
of your
true.
unis and all of
That
that.
is completely true.
But why is it not? Is it because I wanted to understand? Is it not cool to work, or is it not something that your generation? I mean, in the sense, especially from a Christ background, it's not cool. What will people think of me working in a pizza shop? Do you guys have that mindset?
No, there's no mindset like that generation wise, but parents wise. It's
Yeah.
more of parents. They're like, why? We can support you. If we can support you, then we can support you. Why do you want to go work in like a pizza place or something? It's like in America or any other foreign country, they don't look down upon those jobs. But
Yeah.
here it's looked down upon as, you're just doing hospitality. Or you're just, making burgers. It's not a big thing. It will not fetch you a big paycheck. I'd rather have you focus on career and then get a really good job and work in that. So I think it's more parents. So it's like the stigma that we have from the beginning that, these jobs that actually deserve respect, they do a lot more than we can ever do.
Yeah.
Are just odd jobs and should not be done. Like, McDonald's, probably a cashier or any salesman. They're like, no, that's just, why do you want to do that?
But did you ever, you as an individual, did you try ever understanding that, these jobs come with a lot of learning on ground?
Yes.
For example, how much cash are they managing?
Exactly.
How much inventory is going?
Exactly.
Are your brochures stocking right? Is marketing done well? Because
Exactly.
you are customer facing, right? And even as a telecaller,
Yes.
I mean, today some people call to offer you loans
Yeah,
or
exactly.
credit cards and all of
Exactly.
it. I am not mostly rude to them until unless I'm
Same.
having myself a bad day and things
Exactly.
like that.
Exactly.
But there's so much learning on the other side of the call, right?
Exactly.
They exactly know the moment. Mostly now, when they say hello, they know whether we
The
will
person.
the right customer, wrong customer. Should I pursue, not pursue?
Exactly.
This is the data what helps you become an entrepreneur tomorrow.
That is
Build right product, solve the right problem.
Yes.
Because I don't know. I mean, our sincere effort. See, Timbuktu is a part-time job portal, so we don't look at the collars of the job. It can be grey, blue, white, yellow, whatever color, until unless it's legal and student gets to earn meaningfully, right? That's now, if a larger section of, for example, there are a lot of brands do approach us where they say we need Polish English speaking students for our sales job. Now, Polish English speaking, I'll be reduced to 10 top colleges in Bangalore, right? Christ, Joseph's, and blah blah blah, Jane, and other 10 things. Now, the other set of tier 2 kind of colleges where you don't get the Polish. But the problem here is the Polish speaking kids doesn't want to do these jobs.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem.
Right?
That's true.
Now, when we are trying to find solutions for all of these things, we really want to look into the learning aspects on ground, right? And I've met so many people, even in Decathlon other day I was talking to. So the national HR guy is about 29-year-old. Can you believe somebody?
That is crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he started working as a student part-timer.
Oh, wow.
So the insights what he has about the sales and other
yes.
things, though,
Seen from the start.
yeah, so it helps him now recruit the right set of people. Maybe he has a lot more insights than any guy would have started his career at the age of 25. Maybe that guy would have become that guy would be a national HR head when he reaches 36 or 37.
Exactly.
So don't you guys consider this? Because see, my issue is you guys understand money at the age of 15, 16.
Yes.
You guys understand that there is a cool lifestyle that you want to. Not all of though the parents at times are well settled, they don't want to give extra money. So what is side hustle in your language?
I feel like a lot of us would not go for something like on ground sales. And I think because majority of us, especially people who are in college like Christ, like we're so busy. So we'd prefer like a side hustle online. So I have a lot of friends that are doing this Excel thing and they actually earn their rent through that. So what they do is they stay in a flat and so they they don't want to take extra money from parents. So whatever money they get from parents, they earn a little bit extra on top of that for their like rent plus food and managing.
So they're okay to do the side hustle.
Yes.
One, the major thing is the college doesn't have time, basically.
Yes,
excess time that
is true.
college. The individual who's studying in the college doesn't have much of an excess time to do this on ground thing. But you guys don't look down as a job.
No, we don't. We don't look down upon them, but it's just that we don't have the time for it.
Okay.
And I guess if we're in holidays, maybe we'll go for it, like a volunteering job or something. We'll probably look for it, not a big deal. But I think majority of us prefer, staying at home, doing an online job, getting enough money out of it, and, using it up. So it's like, because on ground, it's like, usually it's in the daytime, and we're busy up to like, majority of the BCom regular students that come, they have classes up to 4. So they're super busy until 4, and after 4, it's just like they have their extracurricular activities which take up time up to 6. It's like they actually get free at 6. And so it's a little hard, I guess. But in my class, there are a lot of people, because our class gets over at 1. There are a lot of people that do jobs like this. I think there's someone who does, okay, I won't reveal it, but then a lot of people that do a lot of jobs like these, like on-ground ones, which is pretty cool. But I think majority of us prefer, at least people who understand technology very well, prefer things like online jobs. Probably.
Okay. I just want to know what's going on there. I just want to understand the mood and the feel of the campus, like Christ. So is there any situation, I'm almost coming to the last end of our conversation. So is there any, situations where you've seen your friends getting into depressions or, mental health?
A lot.
But why is that so?
It varies. I mean, sometimes it's family problems, sometimes it's career-related problems, sometimes it's people just having a lot on their plate. Like, for example, they're either pressurizing themselves or relationships in their life are bad. For example, not only romantic but also friendships.
Yeah.
So it's like both, and there's a lot that plays a role. Some of them just have had like their fair share of medical problems also that cause this. So, like, for example, someone that probably has a serious medical issue that is causing them also mental health problems, like cancer.
But see, why I ask that is, for us, the word depression and all, बहुत बाद आया in our life. Maybe we were feeling stressed, maybe we were feeling pressurized, but we didn't know it is called this, or maybe we didn't confuse every other stress with depression. So what do you think you guys are, I mean, when I say you, as a generation, you guys are using this word responsibly? Are everybody under depression, or is it that they're getting confused?
Mostly I feel like it's just a word that is exaggeratedly like used a lot more than it should be. But people who actually have it, I think, are being looked down upon because of that, or not being
clinically diagnosed.
Yeah, people who are clinically diagnosed or who actually have depression, they are not, they are mistreated because everyone thinks they're lying, or they're trying to do it as for seeking attention or anything, which is so wrong, because the word is being used so wrongly and
abused.
Abused, that people who actually have it, they don't come out because they're like, I'll be judged.
So I was just going through this data or the conversation, I don't recall. So all these fundas, right, are in the tier 1 college.
Yes.
Tier 2 mein, tier 3 mein, struggling for life is only so much.
Exactly.
The struggles, the day-to-day struggle. Parents doesn't have money, there is a pressure on the college fees. There is so much race in every run and catch the bus.
Exactly.
So there is so much that is on a day-to-day life.
Like so used to that entire situation that they don't really have the time to think of.
I mean, they're like, what is the next thing that I need to solve in my life? So there is so much of competitive spirit that they come from. So this is all happening in this tier 1 colleges because comes from a very well-to-do family. There is no pressure of job मिलना ही है 2 साल तक नहीं मिलेगा ठीक है कुछ तो चलेगा or get overexposed at a very early age to a lot of other things, and then I don't know, I mean, I'm sure you do not come from that circle, but I just want to understand, is it true that it is all first world problem happening in tier 1 colleges?
I think, I mean, yes, the stigma is there, that is there. But I would like to say that, I mean, it's individually. I mean, a lot of people are much stronger mentally because they have been through. So I think it's like tier 2 and tier 1. They've been through so much in their life earlier on that anything that is like this does not affect them as much. Because it's like, yaar, humne isse zyada dekh liya pehle. Why does this affect me? This does not matter to me. They've been through so much, they've become immune and they've become so strong to anything that can affect them mentally. I'm pretty sure it affected them, like whatever troubles they went through, it affected them back then, but not anymore. They're much stronger. I would like to look at it that way, but I would say every individual has their personal, space to tell, they're sad or anything. So I guess anyone, tier 2 or tier 1, they probably have their reasons. Yes, it's more common in like tier 1 probably, which is why I said it's abused. But I feel like anyone that actually has it, then they have the,
be kind and
be kind and be nice.
acceptable.
Exactly.
Yeah, great.
Not done
Is there
anything.
anything that you want to ask me?
No, not really. Nothing.
Nice. Now that we work together, so you will anyway hear
Anyway, end of us.
gyan, conversation, opinions, and everything. But this was nice.
Thank you.
If you have anything to share, feel free to share. So I only want to assure that this is a safe space, so nobody's going to judge and all of it. What we are trying to do is also, just to build a healthy student community.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to be your ears, eyes,
Exactly.
support system, and all of it. Idea is to build a very nice, fun, good student community, and give them power of earning, upskilling, and purchasing, and all of that blah blah things.
Exactly.
So that's exactly the idea of starting No Filter Please. Your generation has no filter when it comes to thoughts
That
and
is
talk
true.
and things.
Yes.
So yeah, good. I think we will end the podcast and we get on to work. That was Akanksha for us. Pretty clean in our conversation, pretty good with, she has a great clarity of thoughts. So yeah, we look forward to host more students. We want to speak to 100 of you, thousands of you, understand you, what better we can offer, what best we can do for you. So if you are one of those students who think that, you are fit for No Filter Please podcast, let us know, DM us. We will be happy to have you, host you here on No Filter Please.